So with this, I'd like to welcome our IIBA board member and also the managing director from Accenture, SHANTHA MAHESHWARI, to come and deliver the keynote, the opening keynote for the session. SHANTHA, over to you.
First of all, a big warm welcome to each and every one of you. Ashish, of course, introduced me as IIBA board member. So on behalf of IIBA board, I sincerely thank each and every one of you for being here. I think by being here, you already demonstrated being the fantastic learners. So I would like to start by giving each and every one of you a huge round of applause for being that constant learner and also being part of the BA community of practice. I think that's the first commitment all of us have to do for ourselves as an individual who all want to grow. So really, hats off to all of you for that. The other thing that we constantly talk in the IIBA board on a continuous basis is always about how do we constantly create lifetime career value for every community member who is in our community. And I think I must take that opportunity, and I know there are a lot of volunteers in the room here, and I'm going to request either you stand up or by show of hands, whichever is convenient to you, whoever or all of you who constantly contribute into the community, into some of the papers, into the IIBA websites, or into some of the curriculums. Raise of hands. I think we must, each and every one of you who raised your hands, a very sincere thank you. I think it goes a lot. As much as we learn, it also becomes an opportunity for us to give to the community, because as a BA community, there is so much happening in the industry and in the market. Like Ken said, like Ashish said, first of all, thank you all the volunteers. And I would only encourage, maybe take another pledge to probably contribute more into the community, into volunteering, into some of the curriculums, because every curriculum that is getting designed in IIBA is all coming back to all of us in the community. So I would say, I think let's benefit more individually. Let's also contribute more so that the community gets to benefit more. Sounds a pledge? Definitely you will all make it. So next time when I come and stand here, probably I'll have more hands. Okay, so with that said, like I said, thank you. And now I'm going to switch to the topic. And when I was speaking to Ashish and the core team, and like Ashish beautifully put it, and I think it's a very, very small, lean team which has brought together this entire event together. So I really sincerely thank you, Ashish, and all the core team. I think Nikita, right, the way you introduced yourself from Shell. So thank you for lending yourself to really anchor this event, and the entire core team. Let's give a good round of applause for really bringing this event together for all of us. And of course, thank you all the partners. I know Accenture is one, but I think it always takes a village to get a community together. So sincerely, thank you, partners. And I see a lot of our colleagues coming from different locations and different parts of the world. And there are virtual connected learners. I can only say a big thank you to each and every one of you. So with that, when Ashish and I and the core team of Accenture, we were all talking, what is the theme of this conference? What is the theme of this convention? And the theme was these three key words: disrupt, innovate, transform. So when this theme was given to me, I was wondering, okay, so what is the best way to do this conversation today? And of course, there is a lot of digital talk. There is a lot of digital transformations going on already. So if I'm going to speak to all of you, I don't know how many of you will be in the room. So I was wondering, okay, what should I do? I hope it's okay if I move a little bit here. Now, I will not do too much of movement, but I just want to make sure I'm also there between that and as well talk to all of you as well. So then I was wondering, okay, so what do I speak? So the one thing that came to my mind was this quote, and I'm hoping that I'm pressing the right one. Okay. So I thought, okay, if this is what Ashish and everybody wants me to speak, and what do I do? Where do I start? And just look at that. Albert Einstein, I hope all of us remember him. Yes? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask questions after that, okay? So I think it's important I think the one thing that just stood out for me was just this. I think the time at which we are in. How many of you relate to this, whatever is written here? Makes sense? Somebody who thought, not just invented, theory of relativity and E equal to mc square, but somebody who had a quote to say like this in 1800s that probably is so appealing and relevant today. So I thought probably the best way to do this conversation today with all of us is to kind of keep a connection with this. And I know Albert Einstein is somebody who did say E equal to mc square. Should I ask what is E, M, and C? No, don't test it. Okay, fine, I will not. But I think if you really look at the new definition of what's happening in this digital age, in my view, E is all about experiences. I think that's what Ashish was talking about. M is about mass personalization, just not personalization in some relevant quantum, mass personalization. C is, and the C square, is all about amplifying client contextual campaigns or contextual campaigns in general, customer contextual campaigns. That is the definition of what is really happening. Am I making sense? So I think if that is what it is, how many of you believe either us or our customers that I'm sure all of you are serving, how many of you think our customers are in the digital age today? Like they are all doing programs, projects, investments, whatever it is, they are doing currently related to digital transformations. You can raise your hands. Maybe that's the best way to converse right now. Yeah? Okay, still a huge portion of the room is not convinced. Okay. So, fine. So at least there is a good portion of the room which believes they are in the digital age or at least moving towards that. If some of you have not been convinced, so maybe the best way to show you is what is really happening in the world, isn't it? So let me do that. Of course, I could have asked all of these as questions, but I thought, yeah, it's the best because the room is divided right now, isn't it? So the best way to figure out is this, and I'm not going to read out all of that. I'm sure you can read all of this, but I think when we start looking at some of these data points, I think it tells us a couple of things. One, if you look at our customers, they're already on big time transformations. And some of them have already even completed the journey and even going beyond. And some of them, it is not just the journey that I have done, it is significantly contributing to my revenue. It is really adding to my business growth. And if you look at consumers like us, customers and consumers, basically consumers, all of us, I think we have a choice today to choose what kind of experience I will keep to myself, what kind of experience I don't want, because technology has just made that fabric so easier for all of us. I hope that gives you a little bit of a perspective, and I thought I should take a little more daring step to tell you that today, with many, many conversations we are doing with many customers, and like I said, the digital transformations are already underway and all of that, I thought the best thing to talk about today, and the point of view really that we have, is customers have moved past beyond digital transformations. So we are really in a past, after all the things that have happened in the digital world, it is really about being in the post-digital world. So which then means a lot of things. So there are of course scarier moments, like however you read that Einstein statement, you can read it as a scarier statement, you can read it as an opportunity statement, you can read it in however you feel like at this point in time or how you are seeing the work that we are doing with customers. But the most important aspect is today, with a lot of significant aspects going on with every one of our customers, it is not just about survival of the fittest. It is really about for a customer to lead, innovate, and transform. Digital has already become a level playing field for the customers. It is no more a differentiator because everybody has something in digital across somewhere. So then if digital by itself has become a differentiator already and it's already a level playing field, then is it any more a differentiator? The answer is no. So if it is not a differentiator, then what else should be transformed? And the reality in front of all of us is any customer who brings together a moment of experience which is a personalized own reality to every consumer, and that moment of experience being offered at scale, at speed, is really going to be differentiating the companies anymore. So with that, there are some important trends that are happening. So now that I have already said, it is not just the digital world that we are in, I think that world according to us has kind of moved on. So what is really important is only the post-digital world. Then there are some important technology trends that are happening. Are you curious? Okay. I'm not reeling it one by one, so I'm just going to flash it all of it in front of all of you, right? So these are the 5 most important trends which are absolutely critical and crucial for customers to be relevant in the marketplace and grow, and for all of us in the community to be aware of. And I definitely want to give some point at the end of this conversation to all of you as to what it means to all of us as well. But I think if you look at each and every one of them, I am going to demystify all of them for you. Okay, in the digital world, and I'm sure by itself, I'm not sure if it is self-explanatory, but I'm definitely going to go one by one, give you some short story examples so that I kind of try to demystify this as much simpler as possible to all of us. Sounds fair? Are you all with me so far? You're not sleeping yet? Good, okay. So let's take the first one, dark. Dark is really not the dark, you know, D-A-R-K, yeah? So this dark is pretty bright, right? So let's go to the first one. Dark power. In the digital world, I think all of us talked about the equivalent 4-letter words, which is smack, isn't it? Yes? Sounds okay? Yes. So we spoke about smack. We speak about social, we speak about mobile, analytics, all of that. So the new evolution post-digital world is dark. So it is about distributed ledger, it is about AI, it is about extended reality, mixed reality, immersive reality, all of that, augmented reality, all of that, quantum. So the first and foremost is really going to be this. And the most important thing is, first of all, individually, if you just break it down, just the individual aspects itself, the power of many of these technologies are already huge. And just imagine if you combine these technologies and bring it to the power of whatever we need to do for a customer in terms of that, I said the capture the moment, capture the individual reality. And if you just combine the power of each one of them, it is just massive. And if you look at, I put some examples, and I think a couple of examples, and I'm sure when I say this, a lot of examples you can relate to and you can yourself imagine and experience as well. Probably it's also an opportunity to innovate a lot of new ideas for your customers to solve problems. Because at the end of the day, as a BA, I think one of the good things we all should constantly do is solve the good problem for the customer, right? So if you look at, I put some couple of examples here. So one of the interesting examples that I really admire is Volkswagen. And I know for all the other bad press releases that went through for their car and the models, we will leave that aside for a break conversation. But I think a couple of interesting things they are doing. They are trying to use quantum to see how they can actually decipher and molecules of chemicals and create a chemical structure simulation and be able to accelerate battery development. Just as an example, yeah? So basically it is about applying a right technology to a right problem at scale, and how can you amplify and accelerate at scale. If you look at LG, and I can go on with a lot more of examples of Volkswagen itself. You know, they are doing almost on everything that I've written there, which is distributed ledger. They are doing something on automated payments at gas stations so that it can be made free. Of course, I think on the extended reality, many of us probably would know, and they are also doing it, and they are probably one of those early pioneers to kind of see how they can apply XR for service technicians and really be able to amplify the service and the service experience. And if you look at LG, LG is doing another interesting thing. All of us know the display screens and everything, and we know the screens at times go blur and motion, and sometimes you get the pictures delayed and the motion blurs and all of that because of latency and all of that. LG is actually researching with a lot of academia to kind of do deep research and see how motion and latency can be simulated at a pixel level, and how that can be applied with a very, very deep AI neural network and be able to solve that so that the time can be optimally reduced so that you absolutely don't see that. Walt Disney is doing some very interesting things. If you are all into cool movies, they are trying to do some very, very interesting things on interactive movie posters, interactive movie experiences. So just the world of what is happening with the power of this technology and the power of these individually and the power of all the four coming together is just amazing. Sometimes I wonder, and I actually tell people, I wish I'm born again to be that millennial workforce, as we say, because there is so much that, it can be just so natural, isn't it? My son just takes a Siri, talks to it, I don't know, he starts playing games, and I don't know what else he does with it. It's like just something that he just communicates constantly. And I don't know sometimes whether he's talking to me or Google Home is his mom, So I think there are a lot of interesting aspects happening in our own homes as well, right? So the power of some of these technologies is just too cool and awesome. Now, the second trend, get to know me. And I kind of connect back to what I said. It's about today, if companies have to differentiate and really stay, it's not just survival, really lead and grow, which is basically the theme, which is disrupt, innovate, and transform. Extremely important aspect of behavior that every company should have. Get to know me. It is not about, if you look at our earlier world, where we did many of our web technologies or where we did a lot of enterprise programs and projects, it was about probably a customer demographic or a group of, we might have done customer churn analysis to that level, which is, okay, let's look at the demographic at large, let's look at demographic of a certain characteristics or a certain age or whatever it is. But today that is not about that. It is really about an analytics at the level of me. And I think if you do that, then definitely there are going to be consumers and customers who are very, very keen to really relate to your experience, engage with you, connect with you, and thereby buy more, and thereby you grow as a corporate or a customer. That is the biggest change that's happening. If you walk into Virgin Hotels, one of the things they have done is, which is digital app everybody has. Like I said, digital world is already done. So what is it that they do differently when you walk into that hotel and when you enter the hotel? First of all, there is a very personalized drink that you get. And it's very personalized because it's my favorite. And then you walk into your room. If I look at the mini bar, it is all stocked with all the favorites of mine. I think it just gives you a very different experience, right? As you walk in, and just imagine you walk in with your family for a vacation. I'm sure you're in for a great smile, and just that first touch experience matters. So those are some very, very interesting aspects happening in the world. I've also put a couple of more examples there. So slice pay. Very interesting example. Today, I don't know if you know, there are more than close to about 2 billion adults globally who actually are unbanked. So I'm sure you can imagine students, people who probably cannot know the process of creating bank accounts. So there could be many categories of people like that. But the whole point is there are close to about 2 billion people. It's a fantastic opportunity of untapped potential, isn't it? 2 billion consumers is not small. So one of the very interesting things the SlicePay did was they created something like a lending platform, which is basically providing loans to students. But obviously, if I'm unbanked, I don't know if my bank will even allow me to open an account today, isn't it? I need a credit history, I need a referral person. Even though our banks have digitized, some of these processes still stay, isn't it? So then where do I go for a credit history and whatever else history that somebody wants? So one of the interesting things this company has done is they basically look at credit history in a very, very digital way. They look at how many photos have I uploaded online. They look at how many times I have logged on to, like Ashish said, we all have to log into Twitter so many times. So how many times have I logged on to the various social media aspects for various things? How many times I've gone to restaurants and I've used digital way of, doing payments? These are some of the measures. So I don't know if we can even comprehend to some of these measures, but these are some of the measures which are adding to an credit history, and those are the digital currencies to measure and decide whether you will get a loan or not. A very, very radical thought, or a very, very interesting thought. Of course, time will tell how much all of that will mature and how much all of that will go real, but I'm sure some of those kind of things are absolutely shaping up to really create very, very untapped potential, a potential that was never thought of, a currency angle in the aspects of how I attributed is never thought of. And I think if you can tap a 2 billion population with that, and I'm sure we always say students are our absolute future. So I'm sure it should have its own success to kind of where it should be. That is a very interesting aspect. Get to know me. The other interesting aspect is John Hancock. John Hancock, if you know, it's a North American life insurance company, and it's a company which does policies. They have a very interesting program called Vitality. And this program, of course, it's all about giving you life insurance policy, nothing more and nothing less. But one of the interesting things that they made is, they said, under this Vitality program, we want to make sure that you're fit. We want to make sure that you constantly exercise, you do your fitness levels, and we all know how our insurance spikes up when some of my fitness levels is really bad. And I think thank you for this stage for sure for me. I'm sure it's going to get a little better for me for my fitness levels. But the link to creating fitness levels and fitness levels targets to be able to optimize your premium of the policies and to be able to attribute and give you a rewards based on that, either it's the premium price reduction or it is about giving you certain rewards on some of your insurance policy lifetime and the period time. These are some benefits. Again, get to know me more clearly, and get to know me so much that you can really attribute to me for my well-being and my purpose. And thereby your purpose is also well defined to take care of me, not just for you to grow your profitability and your revenue. Make sense? So far you're with me? Sounds okay? Am I making it interesting or am I boring? I should ask you to raise hands now, isn't it? Okay, you're all smiling, so I hope you're all still with me, okay? Fine. The third trend is all about human plus worker. And I'm sure you should find this interesting. I don't know how many of you, like I said, you know, when I go home, sometimes I don't know whether my son is talking to me or Google Home as a Google Mom, I'm not sure. But I think these are some very, very interesting transitions happening in the space today, right? And I know there are many, many orientations of conversation that have happened. Is AI good for the world? Is AI bad for the world? Is AI taking my job or away job? All sorts of conversations. I think many of those conversations are dead today, right? Because today, I think it has become so pervasive that if you use it, again, it goes back to the fundamentals of us as a BA, right? If you solve a right problem with a right tool, and if one of the tool is technology, fine. But I think if you solve a right problem with the right thing, everything is going to augment us, right? So that is really all about human plus worker. I think how fundamentally workforce is significantly transforming. Today, a post-digital consumer, that is digital transformations are done, we are all operating digitally. I, as a consumer, my expectations have become very, very different today. If I order something, I think I expect it to come probably in the next minute only. Isn't it? See, Amazon earlier was doing, you know, first of all, we were all very happy when Amazon did an online delivery because it could reach my home. And I was okay, even if it came after 3 weeks. Then, you know, the greedy thing in me started. So somewhere they launched something like, hey, you know what? I can possibly do a same-day delivery. I can do it during this time. I can probably during... There's a lot of customization that comes at my convenience. So today, probably I want instant expectation to be shared with you, instant gratification of response to come back to me, and I want that to be instantly given, and that experience is something I should instantly feel. And I'm going to give you my instant feedback, whether whatever you did as a customer to me as a consumer is good or bad. That is the actual world we are living, right? So for that, the human plus worker becomes a very, very strong aid within the transformation on the customer side, right? Because if many of these things has to be attributed, today if you walk into an Amazon warehouse, because I picked up that example, if you walk into a warehouse, the traditional workers that we know of, the traditional warehouse workers, they are all today fantastic robotic operators. There are many service technicians who probably carried a kit and a spanner and everything else today. They wear a gadget of a VR headgear, or they wear a gadget of a Google Glass. Their life has changed, the transformation of what has technology done to them and their life and their job. And the business productivity they are able to deliver has significantly changed. And all of these has happened because of many of these transformations that is assisting and really transforming that behavior. And I have given some 2 examples, and I'm kind of going to take a little bit of different examples here just so that it gives you different perspectives on some of these topics. Swisscom. It's a telecom services provider. And I'm sure all of us, when we have our telecom network, I don't know whether you had that situation, but last 48 hours, I had been having a lot of situations. I'm sure you all have heard of great, fantastic plans of Jio, that Jio is already telling so many things that probably everything in the world will change to Jio, at least in India looks like. At least that's the way the announcements have come. So if you look at telecom services, the communications and the uptime of the service is a very important tenet for them. End of the day, I think that's what matters. So Swisscom particularly had this one challenge that, they had close to about 21,000 plus service technicians who kind of do a lot of these solving problems, that basically they get a lot of these issues, alerts, people have to get in, solve it, and really, really solve it such that so rapidly that you don't lose your customer end of the day. And I think that's a constant, prevalent issue in the entire telecom space. It's extremely important that one small little bad experience can really switch a provider just like that. And I'm sure we ourselves might have done it too. So with this 21,000 plus workers, it was extremely important for them to solve this problem of knowledge experts. And I know they must have had a lot of problems, but I'm just picking one short snippet to just convey, what really it means in terms of transforming. So they did a product or a platform on AI called Ask the Brain. And what this did was, this Ask the Brain was basically bringing all the knowledge experts together within that community of 21,000 plus workers, the service provider or the service expert workers. And when they did that, whoever is the expert, wherever they are, when there is a problem, if it can be posted into this Ask the Brain, it was answered and the issue was resolved less than 2 hours. So the customer experience you can end of the day deliver is just magnified. So that's just one example. The other example is Unilever. It's a very, very classical global example. Unilever, of course, is doing a lot of things on applying various technologies and a lot of things. I think I need a day for sharing all of those, but I'm going to pick one example. All of us hire. I'm sure all of you come from different corporates and companies and everywhere. We all hire. And I think traditionally, generally for Unilever particularly, the traditional hiring cycle time was close to about 4 months. And maybe if we look back in many of our corporates also, it could be that or even more also. But I think today we are in such an agile world. I think just getting a technology or just getting a skill, whichever that skill is, whether you're talking about an industrial skill, whether you're talking about an IT skill or any kind of an expert skill, 4 months is just, I don't think anybody can wait today. Right? 4 months is like, I don't know, some 400 years today probably. So with that kind of a context, one of the important challenges that they wanted to solve was the entire hiring process for entry-level skills. And what they had done was they had completely transformed, they looked at every part of their process, whether it's hiring, whether it's screening, they completely put an entire AI engine on it. And today, what they have is not just transforming the entry-level screening and process, they have brought down that 4 months to less than 4 weeks. What they could hire as close to about 800 plus employees, I think they could simply, at least double it and triple it to close to about 2,600 plus people that they could hire. And most importantly, they were able to take it at scale. Today, that entire process and engine is made so rapid that it is actually working for 68 plus countries across the globe. So which means a problem that you identify, a technology that you identify, and being able to do that human plus worker assistance and the level of amplification it can do by you not just doing it for one place, one process, one scale, but really amplifying it globally, I think just gives you amplified benefits. And today, I think with all the benefits that I talked about, I think the hiring process today is like probably no-brainer for them, isn't it? So I think that's the kind of scale and example that you can think of when you really can attribute to a human plus worker kind of a workforce that is coming, experience that we are transforming. Many customers are actually significantly looking at workforce transformations across the space. So it is not just, so there is a lens of IT workforce transformation, there is a workforce transformation on the business, there's a workforce transformation on the industrial. So the post-digital worker, it's not just people in IT, post-digital worker is there everywhere. So today, like I said, a technician who probably you imagine to be taking a manual content on a manual box and lift and shift is no more just that. He or she has become a lift operator, or he or she has become a more intelligent operator of applying robotics, and thereby ability to create business productivity at scale is something that is getting real, and it is no more just some demystifying some myth or something like that. It is just getting real. the trend 4. Secure us to secure me. So today, if you look at the digital world and even before that, we always had risk and compliance. I think whenever you look at financial, insurance companies or generally financial institutions, I think it is born with some risk and compliance all the time. So it is not like somebody has let away, but even for that matter, any other industry as well. Every industry has got its own, flavors of those. But the most important lens that is very, very important today in the post-digital world is about you secure yourself in such a way that you are able to protect me. And if you protect me, then what I want to share with you for the experience that you want to create for me, then I will be more happier about sharing those. With all the things that are going on, enough data breaches, enough data privacy issues, I'm sure you have seen enough in the news and the market. But the most important aspect is I don't mind sharing. For example, if somebody asks me, Shantha, can you share your credit card information? Because if you share that, I will be able to customize and tell you something. And if that is beneficial to me, then I probably will think, okay, yeah, maybe you're going to give some experience to me, so I will share. So one of the things that has been done, and I'm going to take some financial services examples here because it's extremely important for customers to open out and think cybersecurity is very, very important today. I think Ken talked about cybersecurity. It's extremely important to kind of relate and say, so many of the customers, I think JPMC, MasterCard, a couple of these customers actually came out and said, I'm going to test all my systems, especially I'm going to test all my payment systems and systems that are getting exposed to partners and ecosystem. I'm going to go and create some simulation to create some threats. And I will do a cybersecurity audit to see how I as an organization respond to some of these threats or how my systems are resilient enough to really perform and be able to respond better. So the first thing is acknowledging that in the world of post-digital world, the reality is that there is going to be cybersecurity aspects. That is absolutely important. That means then the question is, how do you make sure your systems are agile? How do you make sure your systems are threat resilient? But most importantly, are your systems resilient such a way that when a situation were to occur, how can you take it, how can you react, and how can you respond? And that's exactly what some of these institutions did. Strava is another interesting example. Strava actually got almost their entire app and the services got suspended because they went on actually creating a fitness app. And these fitness apps were actually tracking how I do workouts. And when I do workouts, it's tracking me wherever I am. So if I'm walking on a mountain, it's tracking me. So they actually started tracking anonymously, even in the classified military areas. And obviously, one fine day, when you bring all of it together, in terms of data, in terms of some of these classified information and all of that, nothing else can happen other than really shutting down that entire business. So today, I think the most important aspect is for us to realize cybersecurity is there, for us to really think about it, make sure that the systems are not just responsive only between what we are operating today, it is also about the systems that are surrounding us, because the threat can come from anywhere. And I think we as a community play a very, very important role. When you're designing systems or when you're probing questions for these systems, some of these questions are absolutely relevant. As a BA, I think one of the things is always about constantly probing, right? It is never about, I think, how intelligent a question that you ask as a BA defines how good a BA I am, right? So it is extremely important for us to then challenge ourselves to rethink and say, what are all the different questioning I'm going to start doing? Because these are all going to be the realities of whatever that I'm designing at the end of it. Sounds okay? Okay. Trend 5, and I'm already being shown time, so I'm going to move on quickly. My markets. And if you look at this, I already spoke, capturing the own reality and capturing me and capturing everything around me is going to be the reality. That means there are going to be a lot of, so gone are those days where somebody tells you by strategy, I'm going to focus on Asia Pacific, I'm going to focus on North America. Yeah, I think they're all there. They are all definitely going to be there. But the most important thing is for you to know, you're going to create, there is going to be a lot of momentary markets. Momentary markets are markets which are going to be fluid. It's probably just an instance with you. So if she has got a need that I'm really going to just do some service for you, it's just that momentary market that I've created. And I don't think I could think of any other better example than Paperboat. I think Paperboat is an example I'm sure all of us can relate. I think one of the fantastic things is about how they have come up with their products, how fluid are the services, how many recipes they've come out with. In fact, there are some recipes which are only run only for once a year, which means the entire sale is only for one day. So there are products which are there for the year, there are products for the season, there are products for region, there are products for flavors, all of that, but there are also products just for one day. That means just look at the technology enablement that they have to do. So their business model is just so cool and awesome. The entire recipe, feedback, survey, everything they take on WhatsApp, and then they feed it into a real-time analytics, which is like absolutely real-time, real-time. It's not just the real-time word that we use. Real-time is really real-time. And then it's immediately fed and connected to their factory, which is all IoT sensors. According to the study, for them to change a recipe in their factory, like let's say I give an instant expectation. I as a consumer, I place an instant expectation. They can turn around that recipe change in the factory in less than 3 minutes. So look at the agility, look at the level of simulation, look at the level of interconnectedness right from the consumer all the way to the factory and getting it back. I think that's the level of example, and I don't think I could think of any other better example than paperboard to demonstrate the momentary market and how momentary and responsive and agile it should be for us to really be able to magnify to that trend. So, given that I've spoken on these 5 different trends, and I hope there are those little stories that help aid us to think what all we should be doing differently as a BA community. What is really emerging for us in this post-digital world is really about, it's not the one which is on the left side where it is all about enterprise, it's about vendor, it's about customer, there are some 3-4 entities. We are building systems for the enterprise, of course between different departments within enterprise, but it's really the entire ecosystem coming together, which means fundamentally the conversations are changing, which means as a community, how we are creating those conversations and what kind of conversations are we going to create is absolutely changing, right? And then, who are the customers then who will remain? If this is the post-digital world, then again then the question comes, right? I ask that question again, then what differentiates them and what will differentiate them to lead and disrupt and innovate and transform and be the leader? In my view, these are the 2 attributes. The companies should have a discipline of technovasion. The companies should have a business ecosystem mindset in everything that they do. Companies which will demonstrate these 2 behaviors are the ones which will really and truly disrupt, innovate, transform, and lead. And for everybody else, I think it's going to be like, okay, let me be there in the game and let me see where it goes. The companies which really want to be disruptive and leading, these are the 2 important attributes that are very, very critical. So then comes, what are all the opportunities? I heard a lot of companies' names here, so definitely there are multiple opportunities all of us have. And these opportunities, and I have taken a few examples, so it's not an exhaustive list here, but I think it will give you some perspective on organizations, as organizations, what are the various opportunities all of us have. And I'm not going to dwell on to all of them, but I'm sure you can relate to them in terms of creating huge hyper-personalization opportunities post-digital world, huge aggregation opportunities, because you're going to connect partners which you never thought of connecting before. You're going to integrate partners that you never thought of before. Cross-boundary, cross-systems, some things that has never come together will all come together. I think this is the world we are going. Then obviously, then it means, finally, what does it mean to all of us who are in the room? And yeah, we can have a good debate also on this particular point, but I thought I should ponder and leave you with a few thoughts. I think the first transformation for all of us as individuals is first to realize today just the word BA may not get us in the world that we are living in today, especially in this post-digital world. Extremely important to think, I should be a business technology analyst for me to really survive and grow. I think that's the first mindset I really want to share with all of you. Today it is not about just being a requirements guru. We absolutely have to have that basic hygiene, which I already talked about, asking the right questions, asking the fundamental critical thinking. But in all those aspects, there is a lot of behaviors that we have to change. Our acumen to technology. I can't say, hey, you know what, I came from the business world, I don't understand too much of technology. I don't know whether we can actually afford to make that statement anymore. So it's extremely important to create that acumen to each and every one of us. Today, actually, I'm actually on a certification program myself for MDA, which is Master Data Certification. And I think that learning, I started off with that first word, you being here already demonstrates you're a learner. The learning can never stop, and the learning is only immense and more, and I think that presents exciting opportunities. So the technology acumen, and I heard Ashish talking about some of the opportunities that we have here for us to be able to explore, experiment, a fantastic opportunity to leverage. So I think absolutely important today, we cannot make that statement anymore. I'm a business person, I don't understand too much of technology. Sorry, that statement has to go. We all have to understand technology for us to be able to help solve problems for our customers. Getting to know a little more about the industry in which you're trying to solve the problem for the customer is important. And also bringing some few other cross-industry areas is going to be even more important. Because today, Amazon started off as a book publishing company. Today they are a technology company. And today, I don't know, they are like into everything that we want to think of or even beyond that. So the whole point is to really understand that industry and that acumen, and most importantly, be able to ask the right questions and also bring some cross-industry aspects is really, really a need of the hour by the customer. And if all of us as BAs are facing the clients, and we are the ones who are driving and strategizing some of the conversations, it again goes back to that same fundamental principle. Are you asking the right questions to your customer so that you are able to drive that right conversations, and thereby you are able to ask the right requirements, and you are now responsible for shaping that for that business transformation for them. So please imagine, today it is not about just doing some project and requirements. I'll go back to what Ashish said. It's not about defining a project and a project got completed. I think it's really about shaping a business transformation for the customer, because no one thing is small today. With all the journey points and many things that we are talking, and I talked about that connected ecosystem, cybersecurity, if you don't bring all of those perspectives in the conversations you're going to have, we are really going to miss a boat. And we are probably going to misguide the customers, and that's not the fundamental role of any good BA, which now has to be BTA. I'm sure there are many other attributes there, but I think Ashish already touched on the data and the data sciences, but I think the most important aspect is visualization of some of the data journey points, what that visualization means to them in terms of experience, in terms of journey points. All of that is absolutely crucial and relevant. So I hope with whatever I've spoken so far, I hope it makes a meaningful help, and hope there are some thoughts that I'm able to leave behind with some of these ideas and thoughts. With that, I conclude. If there are questions, I can answer. Otherwise, I'm just checking, Ashish, what should I do?
Any questions?
Okay,
yeah,
please.
there is a hand. Yeah, run. Yeah.
There.
Hi, my name is Abhishek. I think that is a very interesting point you spoke about, get to know me and get to know me better.
Yes.
And it's not an argument, but we have something like secure as also, and we have privacy.
We have what? Sorry, what was the last one?
Privacy, right?
Privacy, yes.
Yeah, the GDPR and the CCPAs.
Yes.
Secure as to secure me, right? Now, isn't it very challenging, because what happens tomorrow when the privacy, laws are implemented, right? How would an organization be able to get to know me better? And what if consumers, more and more consumers would say, hey, you know what, don't get to know me because I don't want to share my personal data. So isn't it really challenging tomorrow?
So there are 2-3 attributes. First of all, fantastic conversation. I like that correlation that you did, Abhishek. So the get to know me and the securest to secure me. There are a couple of attributes. All the privacy laws that are getting created are primarily being created to ensure consumers are not being at a loss. So the laws are making sure that the consumers are getting protected, and making sure that the consumer privacy is absolutely well taken care. Okay. I think that's the first thing. In fact, the GDPR laws and all of that is already implemented. There are many customers which are already sued as well with respect to the level of protection and the information that they had or they did not have. And if you see some of those breaches, There are some breaches which are more at a certain percentage level of their revenue. Some breaches are at even more at a different percentage of level of revenue. GDPR alone, I think, can take a company down because 4.5% of their revenue can just go, which means if you're in some X billions, just imagine 4.5% of your revenue can just get wiped out by just you simply not having your systems resilient, or the systems or the behavior or the data or privacy. Now, coming back to your point, what you said, see, I think there are going to be 2 or 3 important attributes. One, I as a consumer, what do I want? And you can say there are consumers who are going to think that I don't want to share anything with you because I'm done, or I don't want it. But there are many consumers, even if I am that consumer, eventually I think the world is going to change so much that I really don't know whether I will feel left behind. Today, you can question yourself whether you want to do a HDFC-based net banking, or do I still want to go to a branch and do something, because in the net, there are a lot of information that our customers are asking or branch is asking that I want to give or I don't want to give. You can choose to decide which experiences of the digital I want to have and which experiences I don't want to have, and that is the world we will actually go to. I as a consumer will have a choice to decide which experience I want to have because it helps me, it's convenient to me, it's meaningful to me, and I really see a purpose and value. I think that is the decision I will take. On the other side, yes, there are going to be experiences which each and every customer or consumer will choose to say, I don't want this. And I think that is not a choice we had before. Before, it was more like, hey, everything is available if you want this. I don't know how many times I have given my credit card information or whatever information I have just like that given without even asking all this, because bank will tell me, hey, Shantha, if you want to open bank account, all of these are needed. So there is no two-way. It was mostly one way. But today, with all the technology aspects and every aspect that's coming around, that two-way conversation is possible. So I would say, I think correlating the two, get to know me is going to be as important, and secure us to secure me is going to be as important. So they are actually like the two eyes, because these are the two places which is going to make a decision which experiences I want to have and which experiences I don't want to have. And on the corporate side, what are the systems I'm going to make it resilient such that whatever is being shared is something that is of relevance and something that is relevant and purposeful, that you have my consent for you to be able to do that. I think that is the kind of behavior we are going to see more. And yes, those correlations are going to be important. I hope I answered.
Good morning, my name is Arun, and I'm from ITC Infotech, and I work as a business analyst. So my question to you is, how do we structure an integrated approach to unify people who work in silos, and what would be the benefits of it?
Good question. I think you said Arul, right? Did I get you?
Yeah.
Arul, okay. So, see, I think today, when we all as BAs and BTAs, when we all do our requirement conversations, I think the ability to think who are all the stakeholders who are needed in the conversation is the first starting point. So whether it is a user story level requirement you are going to think of, or you are going to think of a magnified story requirement, whichever level it is, I think the first and foremost thinking we have to have is, maybe earlier if our thinking was, okay, let's talk to this requirement of this particular person who is asking for a requirement. That could be from a particular department or somebody from a particular unit or a function or a line of business. Today our thought process has to expand. Let's also talk to the risk officer. Let's also talk to the compliance officer. Let's also talk to the supplier ecosystem, somebody out there, because there is a journey point that is kind of translating over there. So I think the first and foremost will be our dimension to think the stakeholders have got expanded. I think that will be the first point, which is very, very important for us as a BA to start demanding. So it is no more about just saying, okay, you know what, I need this person, I need that person. I think our thinking has to start even from there. The second aspect is, when once we kind of start correlating the questions and the conversations, I think they have to be very, very inclusive to many, many attributes we talked now, which is, I think the conversations and the questions are not just, okay, what do you need, what is the requirement, where are we going? I think it's really about journey point kind of conversation. So where is this particular requirement going in the journey? Where are the places where the data is getting exchanged? Who are the parties who are receiving this? What are the consent points we need to build in? What are the security aspects we need to have? Who are the officers or the laws or whatever we need to keep in mind? I think the probing conversations itself has to expand so deep. So it is not about making it complex, it is actually about making it deep. I think those are some very, very important aspects. I can go on with at least another 5 or 6 more, but at least those are my top 2 that I would recommend, because if you get that right, I think that everything else that has to come along, which right technology I should apply or which one should I do or whatever else, I'm sure they all can come along. I think these are very, very 2 important behaviors which I think as a BA, it starts with us, because we are the starting point of that conversation, and I think that's an extremely important place for us to start there. And obviously, at the end of it, I think all the BTAs have to have this one single mindset, whether you're thinking of a user story, whether you're thinking of a big requirement, what is the business value this is delivering? And if you did not ask such kind of hard questions before, I think those are all the questions that you will start asking now quite ahead of time. So journey point conversations, security related conversations, who are all the people who are getting impacted in the correlation of that data or the journey point, and what is the value that we are going to give to each and every one of them. I think they are all very, very important transition questions to keep in mind. So I would say, I think it's about inch wide, but mile deep in the way you want to really, really probe and kind of transition. I hope that helped, Arul.
Thank you. I have one more question.
Please.
So do you think unifying the cross-functional departments that work in silos will enhance the productivity of the company, or will it give rise to newer problems?
So I think, see, today I think a lot of companies, it is not just inter-departments. I think inter-department story was even there even before. I think whenever we have talked about, even in the earlier world, we have always talked about intelligent enterprises, so enterprises where marketing has to connect with supply chain, or supply chain has to connect with the departments which is running sales. All of them have to work, talk together. I think we have always had all those conversations. And I think those conversations will only become more easier, because today I think there is a fabric of technology that is coming, and it's kind of bridging many of those conversations seamlessly and making it real time. So I would say I think that part of the story is already there, and I think that part of the story will only become more and more easier, because the whole digital transformation will already take care of that to a large good extent. I think where the unification is happening more is really about bringing the ecosystem at large. So today, if a Cargill is talking to a HSBC and really trying to bring 2 big institutions together in seamlessly transforming cross-border transactions and cross-border payments, I think those are the kind of examples, those are the kind of complexities, those are the kind of conversations which will actually bring a larger unification purpose. And I think businesses will definitely realize, and many of the businesses have already realized, and the example I just took is already a living example of one, and there are more such examples of companies coming together. So that's why such kind of ecosystem conversations will be far, far prominent and far, far real. And business productivity and survival of who gains and who leads really will become more and more very important. So I would say, I think that is why I said that companies which wants to do that, that is one of the key attributes for them to lead and grow. So I would say, I think that is actually the conversation, not just the inter-siloed conversations, it's really the ecosystem conversation that will really unify and bring more business productivity and business growth.
Thank you.
Okay, there.
Sorry, I have one more. Yeah. So hi, my name is Saurav. I work as a business analyst with Shell. So I just want to get back to the last slide that you put up, the transition from a BA to a BTA. So this technology aspect that you bring into the table now, so just wanted to understand when a business analyst goes in to the customer, and they just can't be a requirements guru. They have to also bringing the technology part. So just wanted to understand to what extent the technology should be a part of a business analyst now, whether they should also be an SME or it's the basic nuances that person should be knowing.
Okay. So yeah, Shell is a customer of ours, so I respect you. So I think, and you are a BA, fantastic. So I think, see, we are not expecting BAs to become technology architects. I think if that is the lens you are looking for, I think that's the first thing I want to just place it in a simple manner. I think today, when you do a conversation, even within Shell, let's say there is a fuel retail of the future or that kind of conversation. Let's say Shell wants to transform convenience gas stations and things like that. I think the level of being able to correlate, what is the business problem and what is the level of technology appreciation that can make that conversation relevant. Because if you cannot bring the business and technology together in a conversation today, I don't think there is a meaningful conversation today. So what is not expected out of a BTA or a BA to a BTA transformation is not that you have to become deep technology architect, where you have to tell how the architecture works and what is the nuts and bolt of having that and things like that. But that is why I said it's an acumen that you need. You need to have that acumen to that level that you're able to do that conversation to the relevant way as to what is rightfully needed, and be able to correlate and say what kind of that appreciation of the technology could probably solve that problem. Because today it is just all pervasive. Even in our own BA world, just imagine you're going to do requirements. Just imagine using AI or a technology that, let's say I'm in a conversation with you, maybe with you only, I think Saurabh, let's say I'm doing a conversation with you, I'm a BA, I'm gathering requirements with you. Just imagine in my life cycle of BA itself, I can apply a lot of technology widgets. So I'm gathering requirements with you, there are a lot of questions I'm asking you, whatever else. What if this entire conversation can be kind of translated immediately to a requirements? It's just come onto the tool immediately. Or let's say I'm solving a very, very complex problem. I'm trying to imagine, I've used up this whole board. I've tried to draw a lot of complex diagrams, but still it's a 2D end of the day, What if this whole thing can come out live and kind of just apply a HoloLens and extended reality and kind of do this really like a software that's in front of me and I'm able to really converse with you. So I think the level of application of technology, even within the BA life cycle, is something that all of you have to think about. How it can make our life easier and our life innovative and different is something to think about. And then definitely it's not a technology architect. If you want to become one, you become one. But definitely what is expected is to the level of that acumen that you're able to do that right and meaningful business technology conversations. I hope that helped you, Saurabh.
All right. So with this, Shantha, I will be the bad guy to stop it. We're already 10 minutes into it, so really want to thank you. I think there are 3 key points that I learned. First of all, the key trends are very relevant. I think when we work on our day-to-day job, and if we keep these trends in our mind, I'm sure we can become a lot more effective. So that's my first takeaway. The second takeaway that I had was that technology has become an integral part of the business conversation. Right? Technologies are driving the digital strategies. So thank you for bringing that out. I think that's becoming pretty evident. And third is all the upskilling and reskilling that the community has to go through. I think these are pretty much 3 takeaways for me. I hope you've enjoyed the session.